Promises.
Here we go.
Hi, everybody.
Here we go.
Happy Saturday of Easter weekend.
Hello, chat room.
Hello, chat room.
Jim.
Hello, everybody.
Some bloke called Jeff. Don't know who that is.
Yeah,
Mike
that's-
Kuipers. Hello, Michael.
Forrest
Hey,
Lambert is a first-time chat roomer. Forrest.
All right.
And then
Oh,
Brad's
bless his
here. Brad's here. Sultan of Wings. I know.
Can we call you Forrest Gump? Because
Forrest, don't have too many expectations being in the chat room. You may be disappointed.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Don't get excited, man.
No.
And by the way, even though Nick seems to think that the sausage is smelly, it's not. You can't. Don't worry. You're not going to.
No smell of vision.
Yeah.
No.
Anyway, glad to have you here.
Yes.
And thanks everybody else for
Welcome.
taking some time out of a busy weekend. Jeff is very busy this weekend.
Very busy, but I wanted to make sure we did a show. So.
Yeah.
Oh, and the Sultan's here.
Yep. Bill Brad.
He's insulting us again.
He's insulting, yeah.
Oh, bam. Oh, I have a.
By the
sound
way, I've
effect
got
I
a
could play.
novel show number
Hi, Ed.
Oh, do
link
you?
today.
Ed Cove.
Novel, as in very, very long form.
Long form
Well,
literature.
wondering.
It's more like a short story, actually. Yeah.
Okay, good.
As long as
It's
it's
very
not.
poetic,
I was going to say, is it poetry?
Well, actually, how did you guess? Because
knew.
it's all about a
Oh no.
it's all about a poet.
Oh, well, there you go. I like it.
Oh,
Does it
starting
start
to
with
get
there was
nervous.
a young man from somewhere?
No, I'm afraid not. She writes a poem while she's on Delta Flight 659.
Oh.
Was
sounds-
it about Delta Flight 659?
No, it was a poem to Sean Penn. She's actually quite a well-known poet in the States.
If you're into that sort of thing.
I was going to
If you're
say,
into-
well-known poets. kind of
What's
a
her
relative
What's her
term
name?
in our society.
Her name
nobody-
is Denise Duhamel.
As far as anybody knows, poets.
Yeah, I have no idea.
I
who
may
that
have
is.
heard her name. I don't know.
I don't think I
Denise
can name
Duhamel.
a poet that's alive.
Now you can. Denise Duhamel. Oh, there's someone at my front door.
Is she
let's-
gonna sue the show for talking about her
Probably.
poetry? On the...
No, I'm only reading the first two lines.
Oh, okay, very good.
But she lives in Hollywood, Florida.
Oh, I see.
Down near Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. And has
Let me
produced
play,
many volumes.
Play
Plain
Roger.
Tale,
Play
I'm gonna
Roger.
do Plain Tale.
Oh,
to
Plain
see
Tale.
if-
Okay, yep.
Yep, go ahead.
The Old Pilot's Plain Tales. RAF Form 414, Volume 34.
Yeah, that's probably a bit quiet.
Yeah, it is quiet.
Those first few weeks with Virgin went by in a blur of activity.
That sounds
From
good.
never
though.
having even seen an
That's good.
A340 before, 6 weeks later, I was part of a crew heading for an airport.
Yep.
Cool.
The formation of get to the routes.
And
And sex lead ran for the back
Yep.
seats and
Well,
got
wait,
out
oh,
there
oh.
strangely coloured.
Okay.
Sounds good.
So I kind of
Strangely
evened
common.
out the volume.
very good.
Thank you.
Okay.
I mean, I'd already run it through Audacity or whatever it's called.
Yeah, but when you normalize that, it's going to see that higher volume section, and then it's going to leave everything else lower volume. It's weird, but
Oh, okay.
so I had
Didn't
to actually,
realize
I had to kind of splice it, and then the section that was lower volume, then that was like a separate thing that I bumped up.
Jeff worked.
okay.
Jeff worked his magic. That's all we need to
Well,
know.
good magic. Thank you.
Yay!
Ray for Jeff.
Did you just pull a chocolate rabbit out of your hat?
Oh yeah, it's missing its ears and butt.
And butt,
You're
yeah.
listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show.
The view from our side of the cockpit door.
Sounds good.
You're listening to the Airline
Oh,
Pilot Guy Show.
Stop!
The
Stop, Roger!
He's got it
Still
on
sounds good.
loop. Uh-oh, look out.
Nick, by the way, to answer that statement, you should definitely go to one if
Yeah.
you get a chance. They are
Yeah.
phenomenal. I was really impressed.
To what?
Yep, I'd like
A
to.
formation clinic or
Bonanza,
okay.
The
something.
Bonanza Formation Clinics.
By the
Roger.
way, we need to make sure that we do that Bonanza thing while
Yes.
Camacho's here.
Let's do that. It's there.
Okay.
I think it's up towards
Okay.
the top.
It is. It's
Should
number
not be
the
a-
second one, but we'll move it up to the top.
Well, I think I think second is fine. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
We just don't want to miss you. We know how busy you are. So the kids are going egg. The kids are going egg hunting, are they?
Yep. Yep.
I've never
the
been to one
airport.
of those. They always look kind of like the Hunger Games with all these kids like running around and
Yeah, that's
screaming
exactly
and yelling
what it
and
is.
like,
Yeah.
nope.
But in this case, there's not a lot of killing or blood or anything like that.
Well, not so far. Yeah.
Depends on which one you go to.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Sometimes.
Depends on which neighborhood it's in.
When's the last time you've been to a Baptist church, Jeff?
Long time. Long time.
How are you doing there, Jeffrey?
I'm getting there. I'm very close.
Okay, that's good to know. In anticipation, I'll get ready.
All right, let me get the recording going on. Oh, stop. Damn it. I'm sorry. Darn it.
Oh, do you want to change the intro to say something about multi, or do you want to wait for later?
Oh, I can do that. Or you can go into the notes and change your intro.
I cannot do this. I do not have the permissions.
Oh,
I'm only allowed to look at it. I can't actually
really?
touch it.
In Evernote?
Yep.
I thought you have my credentials.
No, I'm signed in as me.
Oh, okay. Okay, this is what I'm going to do then to make it easier for me. I'm going to.
Well, I can go in there and he can dictate it to me and I can change it.
Yeah, you can do it. Okay, perfect. What I was going to
All
do
right,
is just
so-
cut and paste and send it to
No.
him, like text it to him,
No.
and then he can change it, and then we can.
All right,
All you
just a
have
minute.
to do is just put
Just
the
let me
words.
find it.
Just put the words multi-engine in there wherever you feel like it's appropriate.
Well, where is it appropriate? Just tell me where.
Make it the third and fourth words. However that falls out.
From multi-engine, the swamps of Central Florida.
From the multi-engine of Central Florida.
I guess we can take the sun and fun out, right?
Oh yeah.
You're not at sun and fun anymore, so I can take that
Oh,
out.
No.
yeah.
Okay.
Use the bottom one. Use the bottom one.
Yeah, the
See
one,
the second
there's
paragraph?
like the second paragraph right below it.
Okay, so what
From
do
the
you want me to
Northwoods
put?
of the Atlanta.
High performance, high altitude, multi-engine?
I'd put it before complex.
Who's changing it?
I did.
No.
So you needed to work on the one that's now left.
Oh, okay.
After
Not the
endorsed.
top one. The top one was the special one for Sun. and
Okay. After endorsed. Multi-engine? Okay, got it.
Dawn. Sorry, Liz. I didn't mean to pull the rug out from you.
Shit, Jeff. What are you... Sorry. All right.
I don't know what
I'm not
happened,
gonna offer to save you work anymore, Jeff. I can tell you that.
I don't know what's happening on my
Okay.
screen, but it's just typing multi-engine in random places.
Yeah, Jeff is doing that. I'm not.
I'm not
typing.
doing it. I'm not even on Evernote.
You see, I could get away with this stuff for ages.
Oh, we might have known it was you.
Anderson doing it. And you blame it
well,
on
you
me.
did say just keep putting it in. I mean,
That's
I was,
that's what she said. Oh, sorry. Sorry, I forgot we're on the air.
Bam. Yeah, it's better if somebody else says it.
That's what she said.
Nick, would you stop that, please?
well, I said it, Jeff's the one going to read it, yeah?
Okay, listen.
You
Camacho,
don't keep taking them out. That's no fun at all.
Camacho has got to go, and we don't want to waste time. So could you please stop
Oh,
doing
you're
that?
starting to piss off, Liz. Don't do that.
I want to make...
Well, I'm ready. I've been ready for like 10 minutes.
I know. That's the problem.
Okay.
Yeah, you get too much time on your
Get
hands.
bored,
So,
and then you start.
does it make sense? Complex endorsed commercial multi-engine after
Sure.
that, after commercial.
Perfect. Don't forget the one after affinity and the one after enough.
Liz, do I need to do the video of the hijacking guy?
No,
Okay.
not really. It's just a whole bunch of long distance things of people on runways. So no, you don't.
Okay. And then the door in Lancaster County, I have audio instead of the video.
Okay, hopefully that's right. No, does
and
that
then
look okay, AJ? AJ?
I'm looking. I don't read that fast.
Read
I also
faster.
have to take my shoes off to count.
Well, it's only
Perfect.
2 if you're multi-engine.
Okay,
That
good.
helps.
All right. Sorry, Nick. Jeff, back to you.
No, I was just trying to get what I'm going to be doing during the show. I'm going to let you guys talk more so I can get some stuff done.
That's fine. Okay.
Because
You're going to mow the lawn or something?
Yeah.
No, all the stuff that I normally do, I haven't had time to do.
He's going out for a coffee.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
So I'm going to be doing a lot of things in the background. So I might be a little bit distracted.
Hi, Ludger. You snuck in there when I was working on that.
Okay, new details emerge in deadly Hudson River helicopter crash. That's the one you want me to play, I guess.
Yeah.
That first one.
I guess. Sorry.
Right now, investigators from the National Transportation Safety Board are at the scene of a tragic helicopter crash in the...
Okay.
Yeah, and then you just, I want to make sure you go down to the bottom because I added some, they found the rotor and they also shut down the operator. And that's
Okay, but
down.
that's not a video I have to play.
No, it's just reading stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll tell you what to do.
As always.
Yes, always, yeah.
What about the small private jet skids off the runway at Oregon Airport? Is the video important? Probably not. Do we have a video of it skidding off the end of the runway?
No,
Damn. Okay. Well, then we
don't think
need
so. We just got pictures of it in the water.
it. Okay.
And there's a whole huge thing there that's just really for reference for the show notes. Of apparently, the Honda jets have had multiple issues like this, and there's a big article about that. So
Okay.
you don't have to really get into that. But
Okay. Okay. I think I have enough to get this thing started.
okay,
Let me hit play.
get my phone ready with the timing.
Right there.
Nick Anderson's a very naughty boy sometimes.
Sometimes?
What?
But we
my
love you.
Lord.
We love you for it.
Insufficient evidence, my lord. Where is
I
the evidence? Of
I
this
have
naughtiness?
I have a channel to your wife. Don't forget that. So
Yeah, she's on to you.
Well, I'm going to switch that off for a start. I'll
Yes,
just turn the
that-
internet off.
sorry, Julie, you
Well,
can't
don't
have
do that
access
right
to
now,
the
though.
internet anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've
we-
changed
we
the
need you on-
password.
Don't turn off the internet.
That's all right. I'll just
right now.
exclude her. I'll turn off. I'll change the password.
You'd be
Okay,
popular.
let's see. Captain Nick.
I'm gonna be popular.
Oh yeah, gonna be
I
popular.
gotta move these up. Copy. Actually, cut and then put them up here after Captain Nick. And then
Oh yeah, I
Who's
should do
after
that.
them?
I should.
Who's after Captain Nick?
Nobody's after you. I should do that for you every week. I'm sorry, Jeff. I should. That's
That's
something I
right.
should do.
Let's see, Liz. Okay, I think we got that set up. And do we get any kind of levels check from anybody in the chat room as far
I
as?
know they're slacking off.
Mike, how we sounding? Mike, Ludger, Ed,
Forrest,
Forrest,
Jeff.
Brad. They sound good to me.
But that doesn't always,
Sultan.
equate.
No, I know that
to
equates to
what we're-
nothing. I know.
Sadly, it would be nice if it did equate to what we're hearing, but
I
it
know.
doesn't.
This doesn't equate to anything.
Yeah. Okay, I think
Level is okay, says Ludger.
Oh, good.
Fine,
Thank you,
fine,
Ludger.
says Mike.
Ludger.
So let's get
Oh,
this
good.
show on the road.
All right. Let's see. I think I did that.
Thank you,
Okay.
Forrest. That's great.
Who knows what's going to happen here?
3
Let's
out of
just-
3. It's not bad.
Could be a car wreck, but those are kind of
Wait,
bit
is that just got to do?
entertaining.
Well, we're an
share my
aviation
screen.
show. Shouldn't it be an air wreck?
true. Plane crash. Sorry.
Yeah, plane crash.
Oh, that's not good to.
You are
say.
so correct.
Oh, isn't Putin nice? He's declared an Easter truce. Yeah.
Let's not get into that.
Okay, let's do this.
Yeah.
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show.
The view from our side of the cockpit door.
WAPG. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Airline Pilot Guy, episode 659.
What happened? What happened?
I turned it off. I turned it off. Somebody didn't remind me to start my recorder.
Oh, I thought you said you were doing that about 10 minutes ago.
Well, I did. So, yeah. But then it was in the queue.
Just turn it on.
Okay, why?
So we can record the show.
That would be good.
Yeah, but that's not the why that I was asking about.
Hey, Liz,
Yes, sir.
I don't know if you have pictures for the like a slideshow for the Bonanza story.
Not
I
much.
just dropped another picture in line in the story. If
Okay.
you don't need to add it, but
Anyway, you can show it yourself.
yep, I can just share it when we get to it. I can just share my screen.
That would be
If-
great. Thank
Yep,
you.
I can do
Because
that.
I have
Okay.
to get out a keynote.
Yep.
and-
Okay, don't worry
Thanks.
about it.
Thanks. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, I think.
Round
recording.
2.
Just do a quick test on Unity to make sure I'm recording that channel.
Yep. Just
Yep. Thank you.
all righty. Ready to roll.
Okay, let's try this again.
Oh,
I have my recorders running, and now we're going to do this.
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show.
The view from our side of the cockpit door.
WAPG. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Airline Pilot Guy, episode 659.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Hello, you're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show, the view from our side of the cockpit door. With your host, Captain Jeff, broadcasting live from APG headquarters in Roswell, Georgia. Today's show is recorded on the week of April 14th, 2025.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy. Picture light and he's flying by. With the Airline Pilot Guy.
In today's episode, a sightseeing helicopter crashes in the Hudson River near Manhattan, killing 6 people. And a small plane's elaborate flight path from takeoff to crash in Florida. Also ahead, more news, your feedback in today's RAF plane tale. So get all settled in. Tray tables and seat backs in the upright and locked positions. Electronic devices powered on. I'm Radio Roger. Flight 659 is ready for pushback.
Thank you, Radio Roger. He's an award-winning TV and radio reporter currently at the #1 all-news station in the nation, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM in
New York City.
Welcome to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. It's an aviation podcast covering the latest in aviation news and answering your great feedback. I'm Captain Jeff, a former U.S. Air Force pilot and retired Delta Airlines captain. And joining me from his studio,
In Hartford, Hereford, and Hampshire.
retired professional dog photographer, former RAF, RAAF fighter pilot, retired Airbus A330, A340 captain for Virgin Atlantic Airways. It's Captain Nick.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Jeff. So, 659. We are going to link that today to a poet, a lovely poet called Denise Duhamel. She's an American and well known. Had a national endorsement for the Arts Fellowship. She's got all sorts of degrees. Guest editor of Best American Poetry. She teaches creative writing and literature. Had a very successful career. Anyway, she penned a poem to Sean Penn called Delta Flight 659. And it starts, I'm writing on this on a plane, Sean Penn, with my black pilot razor ballpoint pen.
Oh.
I wonder if that was one of Jeff's flights.
Oh, could very well have been. Did you know that you had a poem written on one of your flights?
I did not. I did not know that. But I love she penned a poem for Penn.
Yes,
I love that.
exactly.
All right. Well, thank you very much for that. I mean, man, our show just went up, so many levels in the poetry.
Oh yeah, we're getting all
literature. I might have to recategorize our
literary
podcast from aviation to literary poetry.
That's the word I meant. Yes.
Yes. Okay. Well, excellent. Well, thank you for that, Captain Nick. And let's move on with the next contestant from his home studio in the air capital, low and slow pilot, AMP mechanic, old airplane enthusiast, and engineer in the aerospace and defense industry. It's Nick Camacho.
Hey, Captain Jeff. It's been a few weeks since I've been around, and I'm going to have to take off early, but I'm glad to catch up with you guys for a short little bit here.
Always good to have you for as long as we can get you, man. All right. Good to see you. And also joining us from the North Woods of the Atlanta suburbs, a race car driver, high-performance, high-altitude tail dragging, and complex endorsed commercial multi-engine instrument-rated pilot with an affinity for self-taught haute cuisine and anything with enough horsepower to kill him. It's Alpha Juliet.
Hey, Jeff. Hey, everybody. They actually let me back out of Florida, so back home finally.
Wow.
I know. I was surprised, too.
Good. Yeah. Over the Florida-Georgia border, they're notoriously difficult to get through, but,
Oh, it's okay if you've got a multi-engine license.
Yeah. All right.
Let you straight through.
That's enough of
no
that.
problem.
Let me fade out that music. And then, of course, last but not least, our lovely producer from her studio in Toronto. She's a retired financier and aviation enthusiast, spreadsheet master, and her name is Liz Piper.
Hi, everybody. Happy Easter, happy Passover, or whatever anybody else is celebrating.
Yeah. Happy everything.
Happy everything.
Happy APG weekend.
Exactly. Have a great show, you guys.
Cheers, producer
Thanks.
Piper.
All right. Let's get on with some news.
Stand by for news.
Okay. Yes, I can hear you. All right. We're going to start with this from, several news sources. And it was sent in to us by Sean McHale, the dude that did the show art for the episode a couple of weeks ago. Thank you again, Sean, for that. A dramatic mid-air hijacking came to a tense and tragic conclusion at the Philip Goldson International Airport, PGIA, this afternoon, when a small, not this afternoon, I guess this happened on the couple of days ago. A small passenger plane was forced to make an emergency landing after circling Belizean airspace for hours. I've never seen that name before, Belizean. I guess the airspace around Belize. For hours. The hijacker, a U.S. national identified as, hang on, let me see. I got to get this ready. The hijacker, a U.S. national identified as Akinyele Sawa Taylor, was fatally shot, and 3 passengers were injured. Police Commissioner Chester Williams confirmed that the aircraft, which had taken off from Corozal, was hijacked by Taylor, reportedly a U.S. military veteran, shortly after departure. Here's a quote from Williams, the commissioner. Shortly after taking off from the airstrip, the plane was hijacked by a passenger on board who had been identified as one Aiken Taylor, who is a U.S. national. Apparently, he's a veteran as well. Based on what we were getting, the hijacker was demanding that he be taken out of the country. The aircraft circling Belizean airspace between Belize City and Ladyville even veered out toward the Terneffe area at one point. Authorities grew increasingly concerned as the aircraft's fuel levels dropped. Our greatest concern was the fuel consumption. The information that we were getting was that the fuel was depleting and the plane was still at a very high altitude. course, if you're going to have depleted fuel, you'd want to be at a high altitude, right? Yeah. Well, I mean, it gives you a little bit, it gives you more options.
More gliding range.
Yeah, more gliding space.
And you'll burn you'll burn less fuel up there, so you'll be able to fly longer.
Right. Good point. Okay, let's see. Williams and a police team moved to the control tower to monitor the situation more closely, while multiple police units were deployed across the country, including to San Pedro, the municipal airstrip, the Philip Goldson International, and even to locations on the coastal road. We did this to ensure that the plane, that had the plane landed at any of these locations, we would have been able to intercept the hijacker. The plane appeared to be landing at PGIA before taking off again. The pilot then communicated to us that the hijacker had directed him not to land there, I guess because he knew that once he landed there, there would be police waiting. Yeah, smart. All right. With the fuel nearly exhausted, police contacted Astrum helicopters to track the aircraft in the event of a crash landing. We were hoping that we wouldn't have to move from a search and rescue operation to a search and recovery operation, according to the police commissioner. Just as the helicopter team was preparing to take off, the aircraft returned and successfully landed at PGIA. As the plane landed, it ran out of fuel. So again, God is good. The passengers were quickly evacuated and they were met by police and airport employees. A confrontation on the tarmac led to the hijacker being fatally shot in the chest. I must say that the hijacker was shot to the chest, Williams confirmed. 3 passengers on board the plane received injuries. They were stabbed with a knife. The hijacker had a knife. Ew. One of the passengers with a licensed firearm reportedly shot Taylor as the aircraft landed. What we gathered from one of the passengers who was injured is that as the plane landed, he shot the hijacker. He had a licensed gun.
Sorry,
Wow.
Jeff.
What?
Right. They just keep repeating what they've written.
I know. But that just never happens. I don't, Is this what they teach in journo school?
Must be. That's
like
because
right-
everybody does it.
I'd be curious where the gun keeps its license. Like, does the gun have to have its
that's
license
right.
on its person, or?
Well, it was the gun that was licensed, not
Right.
the carrier, I guess.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So where's the gun keep
Oh,
its
right.
license?
Okay.
That's a good
Does
question.
the gun have pockets?
So, okay. So basically what we got here is some dude decides to hijack this. It looks like a, what is
It's
this?
a caravan.
A caravan?
Caravan. Yeah.
It's a grand
Cessna
caravan.
Is this, I may have missed it. And this is the first time that I've actually seen this and reading it. Is this, so this is not a scheduled airline. It's like a charter service, like a,
Not sure.
oh, okay. I just don't remember reading that, but I have a very short memory. Yeah, it says, the livery on the airplane says Tropic, but I thought it said something about a private airplane or something. But anyway, whatever, regardless. The guy pulls out or tells them that he's hijacking the airplane, but I guess the hijacker only had a knife and not a gun. Yeah. Oh, good point, Liz. Anyway, so I guess it was a happy ending, except for the hijacker. It wasn't happy for him. Yeah.
I don't know what he was expecting, though. So,
I don't know.
I mean, he apparently just wanted to refuel there and go somewhere else, but we never found out where.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, thank you,
take me
Sean,
to
for sending
Cancun,
that in.
he said. Or
What's
take
that?
me
I'm
to
sorry.
somewhere in Mexico, apparently.
Ah.
You didn't want to go back to the States. I wonder why.
Nope.
Yeah, Tropic Air looks like Tropic Air is the airline of Belize.
Oh.
So it looks like
Okay.
they
Well, thank you
have,
very much. I don't know why they didn't state. I guess they didn't state that at the beginning, just assuming that everybody knows that. But
Well, it's
they'd be-
an awfully
they would
small
be
airplane
wrong.
to be and have a national airline flying it. But I
But
guess
It's an
They have
awfully
15
small
of it.
country.
yeah,
yeah, Belize is not a big country. All right.
We
enough of
used
that.
to have a lot of our troops and part of our Air Force out there because we used to be a a British colony. So we agreed to continue to defend them against all their angry neighbours when they became independent.
But not hijackers.
Well, I don't know if they're still down there because they used to have Harriers down there. So I don't think we have enough F-35s to replace them.
All right. Let's move on to this next one from NBCPhiladelphia.com. 5 hurt after small plane crashes in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. This occurred on 9th of March, so it's been a while now. But we've been holding it because we wanted to have some expertise to analyze this. The crash occurred on Sunday, March 9, 2025 in Manheim Township, Pennsylvania, according to NBC 10 affiliate WGAL News. Let's see. It crashed in a retirement community. The plane, described as a single-engine 6-seater 1981 Beechcraft Bonanza A36TC with 5 people on board and the tail number November 347 Mike, departed the Lancaster Airport around 3 p.m. on Sunday and was headed to Springfield Beckley Municipal Airport in Ohio, according to FlightAware. Here's a quote from the Manheim Township Police Chief Dwayne Fisher. He said, "I would say from our initial look, it appears that it may have skidded approximately 100 feet after it made contact with the ground. All 5 people on board the plane were injured in the crash and taken to local hospitals." Let's see. So anyway, the rest of this article talks about the first responders and that sort of thing. But we do have a little bit of audio of this incident, and so we're going to listen to that now. This is from liveatc.net.
Lancaster Tower, Bonanza 347 Mike has an open door. We need to return for a landing.
347 Mike, roger. You want to make it to 31 or 26?
Lancaster Tower, I cannot hear you with the wind, so we're going to return to 26. We're going to do downwind.
347 Mike, roger. Runway 26, clear to land.
26, clear to land. 347 Mike.
347 Mike. Pull up.
Rescue 1, Lancaster Tower, the aircraft is down out just behind the terminal on the parking lot street area.
Taxi to take off, we'll get to the VFR to the southwest.
Stand by, calling for departures. Rescue 1, did you copy?
All right. That was all the audio that I ended up clipping for the show. But you get the idea. Shortly, either in the latter part of the takeoff roll, but I guess after they were airborne, at some point shortly after takeoff, from what we can hear, it sounds like the door opened up. And we've talked about door opening in flight incidents involving general aviation aircraft in the past. And I know that on some aircraft, it's a pretty critical thing. However, I don't believe on the Bonanza that it's as critical as far as, I don't know. I could be wrong about that, but luckily we have somebody here, Camacho. You fly a Debonair, a Beechcraft Debonair, which is like the predecessor of the Bonanza. Is that right? Did I describe that right? Or
yep, yeah, more or less.
Closely related.
So it's basically a Bonanza. So very very similar airframe, like 90% similar airframe. Doors popping open on Bonanzas. The act of a door popping open is fairly common. I don't know if that's because it has a slightly more complicated latch mechanism. Like when you get in a 182, the latch is towards the back of the door, and you're basically actuating a mechanism that is right near where the door is latching. On a Bonanza, you have the door handle basically at the front of the door, and then it has like rods or actuation mechanisms going back to a latch at the back of the door and a latch at the top of the door. And getting those latches to seat well and capture the door and actuate well is a little bit of a it's not an intensive process, but it's something that you have to kind of dial in. So it takes a little bit more effort than a standard door latch on some other styles of airplanes. I don't know if that's why the doors seem like they pop open more often on Bonanzas or not, but it does seem like it's not an uncommon thing. And when I did transition training for my airplane, so there's a couple of different outfits. There's a independent outfit, and then there's also the Bonanza Type Club that do type transition training for the type specific airplane you're flying. And I did mine through the American Bonanza Society, which is the Type Club. And not only do we brief it on the ground in the ground school portion of it, but the instructor I was with actually popped the door open during one of the circuits that we did. And basically the intent there was to show that it is basically a non-factor when the door pops open on takeoff. So for me, it happened, we rotated, and I may have just got the gear started up, and he popped the door open. The door came open. It's hinged on the front. Let's see. So let me share a picture here.
Okay.
Because I also thought it was a couple of other interesting things that I don't think are probably relevant to the accident itself. But so this is a picture of the accident airplane. And
okay,
if you look,
pop that up.
Oh yeah.
Okay. It says remove other media streams before you can add it to the stage. Well, I don't see any other. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, cool. So it's kind of hard to see, but right above the tip tank, you see the hinge point. So the door is hinged on the leading edge. So when it pops open, it opens up about 2 inches, like 2 to 4 inches, and then it just kind of hangs out in trail. The bad news is when you're flying at speed, it's because of the pressure field and everything, it's hard to get the door closed. The good news is it'll only open a couple of inches, so it doesn't really affect anything. So when it popped open on me, we just continued the climb, got the airplane cleaned up, came back around and landed. And it was basically a non-factor. So that is the desired outcome. Unfortunately, it's pretty common that doors popping open in various phases of flight don't often end that way. So I'm not sure if it's a training issue or, just a little bit of a kind of like a helmet fire situation where when people aren't expecting it, they get kind of overcome by the non-critical issue, right? It becomes like a value jet type of scenario where you focus on something that's not immediately relevant to the safe operation of the airplane, and then you basically lose track of safely operating the airplane because of that.
So the door there's only one door, and that's on the passenger side of the aircraft, right? There's no door on the pilot side?
Correct. There's actually three doors on the 36 variant. So there's one door up front that the pilot and co-pilot go in, and then there's the 2 doors in the back.
Oh, okay. So it doesn't really say which door. I guess I just assumed when I heard the audio that it must have been the one.
Yeah, and I saw early on, right after this incident, I saw some discussion about it possibly being the, they call these the barn doors. So if you look at basically from, for people who are looking at the picture, which I know not everybody is, but from the 7, from the edge of the 7 forward to like the back tip of the tip tank, those are called the barn doors. Those are the basically like the passenger doors, and those are 2 folding doors that open. One opens from the forward one opens from the leading edge, and the back one opens from the trailing edge.
Gotcha.
And those, I heard somebody say something about those opening. Those I don't have very much experience, or I haven't heard very many stories of those opening in flight.
It
seems like it's a simpler mechanism.
Yeah, well, it's a big movement with the handle versus the front door.
Right,
as well.
right. And it's
let's say that did occur, and that back one opened. It seems to me that that would be a lot of drag in the slipstream or windstream.
Yeah,
Would
so
that
I'm
be
not sure. So the question that I would have, and I'm not as well versed in Model 36 airplanes. So my airplane doesn't have those doors. This airplane has one more row of seats than my airplane has. And I spent a lot of time as a kid in these airplanes, but I haven't spent much time around a 36 for a while. But my recollection is that the aft door closes first, and then the front door closes.
Correct.
And
Yeah, the front door has to be open
for the aft door
open
to
for
open.
that aft door to even clear. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think you'd end up with, it seems like you'd end up with a similar situation to the front door, which is that the front of the two cargo doors there would open a little bit and remain in trail, but I don't think you could get it open enough to open that back door. Obviously, if somehow you got the back door open, I think that'd be pretty catastrophic. Either get ripped off the airplane or it'd cause really adverse flying conditions.
And not that it really probably has anything to do with that, but that looks like one of the Tradewinds turboprop conversions.
Yeah, so I was going to mention that. That's why I wanted to show a picture. So Liz was showing a picture earlier of basically a standard A36, which has, a 6-cylinder Continental piston engine. This airplane is a Tradewind conversion, which is basically putting a
Rolls-Royce
Rolls-Royce Allison turboprop engine on it. So it ups the power from like 285 or 300 horsepower to 420 horsepower. So it should have better climb performance, better overall performance, worse fuel consumption. But I don't know how that would affect the airplane in a door opening situation. In my mind, I just think he's probably climbing out at similar speeds that a piston Bonanza would climb out at. So I wouldn't think that the aerodynamics would be affected all that much. But he would have more power to overcome any sort of performance impacts of having the door open. So I don't think I don't think that'll end up having a significant impact on the incident, but I don't know. It is something to note.
So I know we're going to wait for the NTSB to investigate to figure out exactly what occurred here, if it was something that, affected the aerodynamics of the aircraft and it was almost unflyable, or if it was more of a distraction kind of thing for the pilot, and not focusing on getting, flying the airplane and getting it on the ground. What is that your guys' feeling that that's probably what happened in this case? I know we're not investigators of this particular accident, but
the one thing that struck me was the fact that there were somewhere in that article it said that they thought that the airplane skidded approximately 100 feet. That seems like a really short distance for something that should be doing 80, 90, 100 miles an hour minimum.
Mm-hmm.
That seems like it was much more of an angle like this as opposed to an angle like this. So that would lead me back to distraction, not paying attention, loss of control.
It must have been pretty dramatic for the tower controller to say, pull up, because it must have been very obvious that he was losing altitude very quickly and heading toward the ground. Although I will say, though, Alpha Juliet, that in the movie Flight, when they hit the ground, they didn't go much more than 100 feet there. So and that was a much larger airplane. It was a big jet airline.
I'm sure their physics are probably more right than mine.
Well, and the pictures in the article did show the airplane ended up in a parking lot. So, maybe his skid was prematurely
he could have
affected by hitting some cars or something.
You're not going to try and tell me he was thinking of parking it, are you?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Bam.
Okay. Just a question, not connected with this accident, but is that a radar on the wing of that?
Yep.
That's clever, isn't it?
Yep.
Okay, that's neat. And I know
these
there's a little shark's fin on his wingtip tank.
Yep. So he's got tip tanks. He's got winglets on the tip tanks. These were interesting conversions because the Bonanza is a really good airframe, but my understanding, and I've never flown one of these, I've talked to maybe 2 people that have flown them, but my understanding, based on that very, very limited experience, is that the engine almost gets to the point where you're outpacing the airframe's capability, because most of these there's a different conversion that used a B-36 TC, which was basically a Bonanza fuselage with a Baron wing. So I think that one did a little bit better. But, you know, when you put that much power on this airframe and you can fly high with, you know, you can maintain your power and fly really high, then you start running into true airspeeds that are, you know, bumping up against the limit of the airframe, and there's not always oxygen capabilities and burns a lot more gas. So this airplane with the tip tanks, this airplane probably has a fuel capacity of, let's see, 80 plus 20. So 120 gallons maybe. And as a piston pounder, it'd be burning like 15 gallons an hour. With the turboprop, it's probably burning more like 25 or 30 gallons an hour. So it's an interesting concept, but it seems like unless you have a very specific mission that it meets, it's not ideal in all senses.
The other issue is that you don't get a gross weight increase, and that burning a lot more gas means you got to take a lot more gas, which means you can take a lot less stuff and people.
Yeah.
So you're much closer to gross weight concerns as well. So he sounded like he may have had other people on the airplane. If there's 5 people on the airplane, that's a lot.
Yeah,
for
fuel load, everything else.
A Bonanza.
The normal record for a Bonanza, is it considered a safe aircraft, or is it one of these aircraft that doctors, surgeons buy and they don't live for very long?
I don't know if that's a rhetorical question or not.
Well, I noticed it wasn't a twin-tail Bonanza. So
it wasn't a
V-tail.
V-tail.
The V-tail?
V-tail, yeah.
Or V-tail, I'm sorry, not twin-tail.
Wasn't it called the Doctor Killer?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the germ for my question, yes.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think, you know, I think the Bonanzas have you're right. There was a few years in the early phases of the airplane, the first 4 or 5 years, that there were some structural issues, and you know, a lot of those were attributed to pilot error, because it made you know, it was like one of the early really high performance, really sleek airplanes that was like within the reach of what am I trying to say here?
Mere mortals.
Yeah, exactly. it gave like a very fast, high performance option to a lot more people, and so that got a lot of people in trouble. But I do think there were some structural issues with the early airplanes, because there have been ADs about you know, adding stub spars or adding leading edge cuffs to the V-tail stabilizers, like the fixed portion, to you know, reduce structural issues or flutter issues. So the fact that the factory got involved and made modifications to the airplane to make it more robust would lead me to believe that it was not all pilot error, but I do think there are a fair amount of, you know, people getting kind of in over their heads with an extremely capable airplane.
Well, and then you take that a step further with this one, with that turboprop in the front of it. You can get in trouble faster.
Yep. I did see here a couple of weeks ago. I think it was a family. The 5 people on board were a family, and one of the kids and I think the father, who was the pilot, were in serious condition initially. And I did see an article here maybe 2 weeks ago that came out that said that they are both now stable and doing well, and it looks like they will recover. And it mentioned that I should have pulled it up. I'll find it and send it to Liz for the show notes, but the most significant injuries were the pilot for getting the other people out of the airplane. So he was, I assume he was dealing with some burns or something of that sort, but seems like everybody's going to be able to recover. So that's good news.
Yeah, that is good news. Okay. Well, let's move to item 1E. We want to cover this before Camacho has to leave us. This is from BBC.com. I guess there was another plane crash in New York State. A top former college athlete among 6 dead in the New York plane crash. Former Massachusetts Institute of Technology, it's easier to just say MIT, athlete Corinna Groff was killed in the crash alongside her parents and partner, according to a family statement. A private plane carrying 6 people crashed in an open field in upstate New York on Saturday, I guess last week, killing all on board. Among those on board were celebrated former Massachusetts. Okay, we just said that. Here we go again. Thank you, journalists. The U.S. Transportation Safety Board said the family had been traveling for a holiday celebration when the crash occurred. A video of the final seconds of the flight obtained by officials showed the aircraft intact before it crashed into the ground at a high rate of descent, according to the NTSB. A joint family statement identified the victims as Corinna Groff, her parents, Dr. Michael Groff, and Dr. Joy Saini, her brother Jared Groff, and her partner Alexia Coyutas Duarte, and Corinna's partner, James Santoro. They were a wonderful family, according to James' father, John Santoro. Anyway, this involved a Mitsubishi MU-2B, which is a, I would say, a high-performance, twin-engine, high-wing. It's a really unusual-looking airplane. I think it's a pretty cool-looking airplane. I used to fuel these, by the way, a side note, when I was a line boy at the Mobile Air Center. And I just wanted to say these things are a little tricky to fuel because you end up opening up the fuel tanks on these wing tanks at the wing tips, and then you start putting the jet fuel, got to make sure it's jet fuel because these are turboprops, on one side. But you have to be careful. You can't just fill up the whole darn one wing tank and then move over to the other one. Well, you could, except that the airplane would be tipped on its side. It's very, very tricky. I've seen it happen. Fortunately for me, I didn't do any of these that I was witnessing. But you have to be careful about fueling these things. You got to go one side, put some fuel in, go around the other side, put some more fuel in, and just kind of evenly, or get a couple of trucks and then do it simultaneously. That's probably. Oh, Greg Peterson says they are freaking loud on the ground. Yeah, they are. They are very noisy.
Like Garrett turbines?
Yep, the Garrett 331s. Those are obnoxiously loud engines. Yes. That is true.
And from what I remember, also they don't have ailerons. It's all spoiler.
That's right.
Activated banking the aircraft. Now, a lot of the airliners out there are a combination of ailerons and spoiler deployment to roll or bank. But in this case, no ailerons at all, from what I remember.
Yeah. So okay. I asked Liz to cover this before I left because I wanted to mention a couple of things.
Yeah.
The MU-2 is kind of weird in the sense, or it's weird because at least in the United States, we have basically 2 thresholds of training. Airplanes that don't need a type rating, so like anything small, not turbojet powered, all you need is to be rated in class and category, right? So like if AJ had never flown a Bonanza and somebody said, hey, I've got a Bonanza, can you fly it over here for me? He doesn't actually have to get any training for it as long as he's a single engine land rated
we're
pilot.
Talking about AJ here, though. We would definitely need for him to have some training in it before he
right.
And he can only fly multi-engine now,
Yeah. Yep.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
And some of that, a lot of that is, even though the FAA doesn't require it, a lot of people do have to get additional training for insurance. The insurance necessitates additional training. But in terms of what the FAA requires, anything below 12,500 pounds and not turbojet powered doesn't require any additional training, with a few exceptions. And the MU-2 is one of those exceptions. There's actually a Special Federal Aviation Regulation 108. Yep, Ed Cause says terrible safety record, which is true prior to the introduction of this safety training. So basically what happened is MU-2 had a really poor safety record, and the FAA analyzed it and stepped in and basically made this special SFAR, which required additional training, and it dramatically increased. It dramatically decreased the rate of accidents in the MU2. And so I was poking around, and I found an AOPA article. This is from 2016, so it's not current, but it says so that SFAR was originally put into effect. It looks like in 2008, I guess. And it says in the 20 years before SFAR 108 was published in 2008, MU2 series aircraft had 80 accidents with 40 fatals, according to an FAA safety evaluation of the turboprop, which has unique control surfaces and characteristics such as spoilers rather than ailerons used for roll control, like Jeff said. Since the SFAR was implemented, the fleet of approximately 300 aircraft operating under Part 91 and 135 has experienced only 2 fatal accidents, the FAA said. So, it basically went from having 2 fatals per year on average to 1 fatal every 4 years. So quite a step up in safety.
Juan Brown on the Blancalirio YouTube channel did a video on this crash shortly after it occurred. Of course, this is, the NTSB is going to be investigating and, figuring out exactly why it crashed. But I'll put that link to his video in the show notes so you can watch. And he goes into a lot more depth than we are going to on the show here. But basically, the airplane had taken off and was headed up toward, I think, Columbia Airport or something like that in upstate New York. And the weather at the time was not great. I think it was like a 400-foot ceiling. And on approach to the runway, the pilot ended up executing a missed approach. And he didn't fly the published miss procedure. He must have received, I don't think we have any ATC audio from this, but I think he must have received vectors from air traffic control. And during that part of the flight is when the aircraft somehow, for some reason, lost control and crashed. But I just wanted to mention that that Juan did cover this, and we'll have a link to his fine video in the show notes. Yeah, thanks for joining us, Nick. Great to see you. Anything you want to mention before you go, as far as giving us an update on your life, or you're just pretty much just heavily working and
just working a bunch, doing a bunch of kids stuff. We're getting towards the end of school, so we've got my son's back in action in sports, and getting ready for hopefully a lot of flying and sailing this summer. So getting all of the implements prepared.
Excellent. Make sure that door is firmly shut.
Yep. Will do. All right. Thanks for letting me join. Sorry to bail out early, but we'll see you guys next time.
Hey, it's great to have you for as little as or as much as we can get you. All right.
Yep.
All right.
Together.
We'll see you. All right. Have a good weekend. Let's see. Really? Wow. Shoot. Okay. Oh, okay. That's better. So I think we really need to cover the helicopter crash. And so let's do that next, and then we can move on to other stuff, because I'm trying to keep it a little bit shorter this weekend. Okay. It was great to see Nick Camacho and have him join us today. And but now the three of us, well, the four of us, Liz is in the background. You can't see her, but she's there. We hear her. We're going to go ahead and cover this. Now, this has been covered widely. Oh, that's right. And during the last show recording, this was breaking news. And we just kind of quickly mentioned this accident, this crash, and we said that we would cover it in a future show. And so here we are in the future show. And this, of course, is the incident regarding the, let's see, what was the name of the company? Manhattan? No, that's not right. What's the company name? Anyway, it was one of these sightseeing helicopter companies that goes around some of the big landmarks in New York City, you know, the Statue of Liberty, the Hudson River, and all these places that people like to see, and you get that nice vantage point from the air. And unfortunately, something tragic occurred. The helicopter seemed to just come apart in flight and crashed into the Hudson River upside down. And of course, that killed 6 people in total, the pilot and the family of 5. They were Spanish residents here on a business/vacation, a couple and 3 children. And so we have some video, and I have not watched this yet, so we're going to find out exactly together what they cover here in the video. Is that a good idea? Okay. Just let me know. Give me the high sign. All right, you ready?
Right now, investigators from the National Transportation Safety Board are at the scene of a tragic helicopter crash in the Hudson River. They are expected to release new information later this afternoon. CBS News Miami's Jared Hill has more on the crash from the scene in New York, and we want to warn you, some of the images in this report may be disturbing.
Video shows a helicopter tumble out of the sky, then plunge into the Hudson River Thursday. All 6 people on board, including a family of 5 with 3 children, killed.
Our hearts go out to the family of those who were on board.
Witnesses say they saw the tourist chopper break apart midair just seconds before the crash.
The propeller just exploded and scattered, right? And then after that, we saw the plane was just spiraling down.
According to the NYPD, flight tracking data shows the Bell 206 aircraft was being used by the tour company New York Helicopter. It took off from downtown Manhattan just before 3 p.m. and was in the air for less than 20 minutes.
We are devastated.
The head of New York Helicopter says they leased the chopper from a company based in Louisiana. He declined to discuss its inspection record.
We follow all the rules and more.
According to the NYPD, not too long after the helicopter took off from this pier, 4 people were found dead in the water in this crash. 2 others were taken to the hospital where they were later pronounced dead. Authorities are saying that the family of 5 on board was visiting New York from Spain. CBS News New York has learned the victims were Augustin Escobar, an executive with the technology company Siemens, his wife, and their 3 children.
That's very sad to hear that people coming from vacation and then they end up this way.
The National Transportation Safety Board and the FAA are now investigating. Jared Hill, CBS News, New York.
Jared recorded that in his bathroom, apparently. Well, I'm thinking, come on, man, get a good microphone, and some soundproofing. Yeah, or a studio. Yeah. Hey, I bet that company you work for has a very nice recording studio. Okay, I'll cut that out of the audio. Yeah, that was being a little bit critical, Jeff. I'm sorry. Okay. So there's still the investigation, of course, is going full throttle, and they're trying to figure out exactly what happened here. But we have a helicopter expert in our APG community. I actually asked Sam to join us today, but he's busy doing some flying or something. I don't know. Sounds like
some
a lame
useless
excuse. Yeah, I know. Come on. He's in Frankfurt, I think, maybe. So he's an international airline pilot. And but he, at our request, or actually, I don't know if we requested this or not. He just sent it in himself, thinking, "Hey, I know something about helicopters. Let me record this audio and send it into the APG." So we're going to now hear from Sam Dawson. Maybe. Why am I not hearing anything? Huh. Okay, I see it moving, but nothing. I'm not hearing anything. Okay, let me. Oh, you know what it is? So I found, in my experience with audio, that if you have a volume in your software mixer set to 0, you end up not hearing anything.
I'm not a doctor, but that sounds correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, hey, now that I have the volume up a little bit, let me hit play and you let me know if the volume's good or not, okay? Here we go.
Greetings, APG crew. Sam Dawson here. Thought I'd give some audio feedback on the tragic helicopter crash that occurred last week in New York City. My intent of this audio is not to play NTSB or replace the NTSB, but hopefully to educate on some possible causes of this accident. The NTSB will be on top of this investigation. I'm sure a prelim will come out very quickly since this was a catastrophic failure in a widely used airframe. Prelim report from the NTSB may even come out before this audio is published. A little about my background. I have about 3,000 hours of helicopter time. I was a military instructor pilot. I flew the TH-55, the UH-1, the OH-58 Alpha Charlie, which is similar to the aircraft in this accident, the OH-6, the MD-500, the UH and MH-60, Mi-17, and the Robinson-22 and the Robinson-44. There is a video of the crash sequence. I did not attach it as most of the videos I could find of this are embedded in news sources, but perhaps you can find a copy of that video and attach it. The accident sequence shows the aircraft flying straight and level, then suddenly yawing, it seems to me, yawing to the right. The tail section then separates. Then as the aircraft tumbles into the Hudson River, the main rotor and transmission separates from the aircraft as well. I want to emphasize that my opinion is just that, my opinion. I'm not here to cast stones at anybody, make judgments, just to kind of give a little bit of background of what might have occurred here. First, I wanted to address the possibility of mass bump. That was brought up as a possible cause before the video surfaced, and I don't think that's what happened here, but I'll just briefly explain what a mass bump is without getting into too much detail as I'll put everybody to sleep. Mass bump is something that it can occur in a teeter-totter rotor system, such as on this Bell helicopter. Basically, it's like a seesaw. One rotor blade goes down, the other rotor blade goes up. One leads, the other lags. In a negative G pushover recovery, you can get into a scenario where a blade excessively flaps down into the tail boom or bumps against the mast itself. By negative G pullover recovery, I mean you push forward on the cyclic, get into a negative G or situation where you're light in the seat, and then pull back aggressively on the stick. Other rotor systems, such as the Blackhawk that I flew or the OH-58 Delta model that my wife flew before going to med school, use fully articulated rotor systems that can handle negative G pushovers and recoveries and are much more maneuverable and almost aerobatic. The BO-105 used by the Red Bull team uses a hingeless system, which again can handle those aerobatic maneuvers and negative G maneuvers. Again, looking at the videos that are available and the ADS-B data, it does not appear that mass bump was the cause of this accident. It appears the aircraft was just flying straight and level. The pilot was giving the passengers a good tour, nothing erratic, and then just the aircraft suddenly started spinning to the right. The second possibility I will address is the possibility of a main transmission failure. Main transmission failures are possible in helicopters, but extremely rare. The last one I'm aware of occurred in a Super Puma in 2016 in Norway, I believe it was. In that accident, the main rotor system actually separated from the helicopter before anything else happened. In the crash sequence we're looking at in New York, the aircraft started spinning before that happened, and then the tail boom separated, and then the main transmission followed. Because a main transmission failure is so catastrophic in a helicopter, manufacturers put systems in the transmissions that give the pilots indications that there's excessive wear occurring. These will be temp labels. These are little plastic strips that go on the transmission itself, and you check them in pre-flight. If it's darkened too much, it indicates that the transmission has gotten too hot. You have transmission oil temperature gauges and lights. You also have chip detectors in transmissions. These are magnets. If too much metal collects on the magnet, it completes a circuit, which illuminates a light in the cockpit, letting the pilot know that there's too much wear and tear on the transmission. And then normally you get some grinding noise or something indicating that there's a failure imminent. Even in the Super Puma crash that occurred, there was reported grinding noises by people observing the approach. Any of these indications I listed are either land as soon as possible if you're in flight, or in the case of the temp label, if you see that on pre-flight, that's a no-go item and the aircraft is grounded. Again, looking at the video, what I think happened was an anti-torque failure. U.S. rotor systems turn counterclockwise, whereas you're sitting in the cockpit, they spin to the left. Due to Newton's third law, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. The aircraft wants to spin to the right as you're sitting in the cockpit, or clockwise. In U.S. rotor systems, if you press left pedal, it increases the pitch of the tail rotor system, increasing the thrust and turning the nose to the left. If you press right pedal, it decreases the thrust of the tail rotor system, turning the nose to the right. In a tail rotor system failure, therefore, the aircraft will normally turn to the right if there's a loss of thrust of some kind. This failure can either be sudden or it can be gradual. And a sudden failure could be something actually happened to the tail rotor itself. Maybe it's damaged. Maybe a push-pull rod comes loose or fails, something like that. Or it can be gradual, where, say, the tail rotor gearbox starts to overheat and the tail rotor system gradually loses thrust. Again, it appears this was a very sudden tail rotor failure. Could have been caused by an external factor, say a bird or drone hitting the tail rotor, or again, could have been maybe a push-pull rod coming loose and causing a catastrophic failure of the tail. But it looks like the pilot really had very little time to react to that spinning to the right. At some point, the tail boom and parts of the tail rotor gearbox came loose. This could have been due to the blade of the main rotor system striking it, or could have been caused by the failure itself. It is possible in some cases to recover from a loss of tail rotor thrust, or it can be very difficult to do. But once you start losing tail rotor components and the CG of the aircraft shifts, it's really almost impossible to recover. Whatever the cause, I think due to the catastrophic nature of this accident and the number of similar airframes flying, the NTSB will come out with a prelim fairly quickly. In addition, if this was caused by a part failure versus a mechanic error, I think you'll see mandatory inspections coming out as well, maybe even an AD or airworthiness directive. Again, my intent was not to disparage anyone or cast blame on anyone. My heart breaks for all those involved, especially the families of the victims. In the words of Forrest Gump, that's all I have to say about that.
Well, thank you, Sam. And thank you for your expertise. It's always nice to have somebody that has a lot of experience in helicopter, 3,000 hours. Wow, that's amazing. And your analysis is priceless. And yeah, it seems to me that the tail rotor boom failure must have been very sudden because of the fact that the rotor transmission on the roof of the helicopter separated from the helicopter itself, right? I mean, of course, that's just me saying I know nothing about helicopters. So, yeah, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I think you've nailed on the head. I listened to Broncalerio, and his opinion matches Sam's. He thinks that a failure would have perhaps given enough torque to the airframe for the rotor system to separate as one complete unit. And then, after that, it's just the fuselage, the body of the helicopter without anything to support it. It was just horrific. But the only good thing that's going to come out of this is we've got a lot of evidence in the form of videos. And I think it's going to help the inquiry enormously to try and isolate the problem. And of course, they've got all the wreckage out of the Hudson now. So, yeah, they'll be able to look at that. And hopefully we'll have some answers before too long. But I feel so sorry for the wonderful holiday makers out for a trip of a lifetime to have to undergo that. And what a terrible way to go.
Oh, okay. Liz is directing me to some updates. Okay. I'm scrolling. Oh, you're talking about the fact that the FAA shut down the company? Okay. So they did find the rotor assembly at the bottom of the Hudson River. And I was just thinking, can you imagine the lateral or rotational G forces that the humans inside this thing must have felt if it was enough to completely detach the rotor transmission assembly from the helicopter itself? It must have been probably almost impossible for the pilot at the controls to do anything. I would imagine that would have just been horrible G forces.
Yep.
The other thing that we want to mention is that shortly after this occurred, the FAA issued a grounding order for New York Helicopter Charter Incorporated. That's the name of the company, New York Helicopter Charter Incorporated. And they began a comprehensive review of the company's operations. Let's see, they issued the grounding order on Thursday. The helicopter crashed on Thursday, so just a few days ago. The FAA is taking this action in part because after the company's director of operations voluntarily shut down flights, he was fired. Now, why is that important? From what I can understand, that these companies, to operate these charter flights, have to have 3 officers. One is the director of operations, and then 2 others. I'm guessing probably the CEO, and I'm not sure what the third officer needs to be. Do you know, AJ?
I think it's basically the equivalent of president, vice president, and a secretary type position.
Okay.
For corporations in general.
Gotcha.
So however they title that.
Yeah. So basically, one of the 3 of the required officers of this corporation left or was fired. And because of that automatically grounds the company until they can hire somebody to take that position. So that is really, that's one of the probably several reasons why the FAA shut them down. So that's the update on that. And we're kind of waiting to hear more information from the investigation. And but thank you again, Sam, for recording that audio for us. That was awesome. We appreciate it. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and wrap up our news segment with, let's see. Okay, we are going to wrap up this news segment by covering this from, we have to do this, Liz. It's paddle your own canoe. It's a contractual arrangement that Liz has with
Liz get a
paddle your own canoe. I think she might be.
Yeah.
She says she's not going to. No comment from the producer.
She signed a non-disclosure. Agreement.
Let's see. In the wake of the deadly mid-air collision between a Black Hawk helicopter and American Airlines Regional coming into land at National Airport in January, airline passengers have been understandably anxious about air safety. The anxiety probably hasn't been calmed by the fallout from the accident. with the NTSB revealing that there had been more than 15,000 close calls between helicopter and commercial airliners at the airport between 2021 and 2024.
I don't think close call is an official term for any kind of an incident.
Yeah, well, I think that Mr. Matuz Mazinski, the proprietor of the paddle your own canoe, and also the person who's paying Liz all the kickbacks, really understands exactly the terminology, or maybe he was just trying to dumb it down for all of us. I don't know. Let's see. In an effort to calm jittery nerves, pilots have been taking the time to make announcements before takeoff to reassure anxious passengers. Although this one from Delta Airlines pilots added some much needed humor to the mix. Okay, so here is the PA narrative. We don't actually have the recording, but we're going to read it. We have the transcript. Once again, I can assure you that we are. Wait. Once again, we can assure you. No, I'm just kidding. Once again, I can assure you that we are going to do things absolutely 100% safe and secure and get you there to your destination. I'm married, 33 years. My wife, 4 kids, 2 dogs, 8 chickens. She's tired of going out and taking care of those chickens in the cold. She wants me to get home. So it's kind of cute and lighthearted. So I guess this pilot was there was a video that we don't have. He is standing in front of a Delta Airbus A319, speaking into the tannoy.
A minibus.
I had to look up tannoy. I had no idea what the heck Matuz was talking about, but I guess that's the brand of the PA system. So in other words, he was speaking into the PA system while struggling to keep a straight face.
You don't know what a tannoy system is?
Never heard of it until I read it.
The Great British PA system called tannoy.
Well, apparently now I know because I did look it up. Because
I was going to tell you, but I just I wanted you to get there on your own.
Like you know. Yeah. So I'm thinking, oh, well, there's some kind of a typo here that in this article, which would be so unusual. Yeah. Okay. So that's the way we're going to end it, on a high note or a nice happy note. And we're going to go ahead and get to know us quickly here, or maybe not so quickly. I have a feeling that AJ has a lot to talk about. So this is the time of the show where we kind of get all caught up with what we've been doing between episodes. And we're going to start with AJ, because I know that last week, in fact, you were on the show last week, right? While you were down at Fun and Sun?
2 weeks.
2 weeks ago. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Time flies. So you were down at Fun and Sun. You can kind of tell us about how that all went. I know you were there as a designated cook.
Yeah.
Right? And
yeah, had a bunch of people over to the house for dinner. I think we talked about the house and stuff last time I was on.
How were the steaks? They looked
phenomenal.
Good.
Oh, they looked really good.
Well done.
Yeah, local
they weren't well done.
butcher. Ended up getting in an argument after dinner with one of our house guests.
Oh, a trained raccoon. Oh, that's nice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What's he eating?
So he was having some peanut butter after his...
Jeff.
Oh,
That's
I thought
my
it said
favorite
Jeff.
No. Well, if you ask Nige, that's my name.
Yes,
Captain
it's
Jeff.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
that
was
that raccoon. That's great.
He normally lived in the pantry, up on a top shelf. So when you'd open it, open the door and hit the light. Also, there's a raccoon sitting there eating peanut butter. It was pretty funny.
He doesn't eat much though.
So
yeah,
he's a stuffed raccoon.
Yes,
you stuffed him.
Yes.
Oh, poor raccoon.
I don't know. A stuffed raccoon, is that better than a stuffed beaver?
Oh,
all right.
Good question.
Yeah.
I don't think the raccoon is quite as funny.
Okay.
Well, if you understand his humor, anyway.
Yeah.
So I was at Sun and Fun. One of the coolest things that I saw was this. This is
it ran
a
into the
Velocity.
tent. Little
Yeah,
excursion.
crashed right into that tent.
Thank God you showed me that picture, because from the previous one, I thought, how does he stop it from going round and round in circles? But there are two engines.
One wing's longer than the other. Okay. There actually was, no kidding, there was a German observer plane that was built that way. It had a single
the
engine that was offset.
Blumenvoss 141.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Wow. Anyway, I digress. So this was so...
What was that?
Cool. This is a Velocity V-twin. So it's a experimental built
very
aircraft.
cool.
And this guy put 2 French turboprops on it. And I was like, that's awesome.
Our apologies to anybody from France watching.
So I saw that and I said, I immediately have to go get my multi-engine rating. So
I should think so too.
over the weekend, though, got to go fly with the girls. Took DJ, my oldest, down for some glider flying, and my 6-year-old desperately.
Sunglasses.
Yeah, right. She's got the whole pilot vibe thing down pretty well at 15.
So cute.
And then my little one, my 6-year-old, so my middle one, she was desperate to go with us. She's like, every time I think about going to the airport, she's like, "Are you going to the airport? Can I go? Can I come with you?" So we loaded her up in there, and then she promptly fell asleep.
Oh, wait! I know what's happening here. She was listening to the APG, and I was droning on about something. And
that was it. Yep.
Out.
But I do have to point out that this picture was taken after I landed, so it couldn't have been that bad of a landing.
Wow, very good.
Okay. But
You
it
can keep
does
the
look like you broke her neck.
She's not sleeping. She just broke her neck. She's dead. I'm sorry.
Sorry,
always a
AJ.
good time.
I'm sorry.
So yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
So I got to enjoy that, and she's wearing her Sun and Fun T-shirt as well, of course.
Oh, nice.
Which exactly. Although they are very proud of their T-shirts, because the adult T-shirts, for someone like my size, are $35. For someone who's 20% of the size, they're also $35.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was like,
that's high quality cotton right there.
You are.
So
very good, Dad.
But anyway, after I got back, started pretty hardcore into my multi-engine training, and got to fly a Diamond DA42NG.
Isn't that supposed to be extra special nice?
It's pretty nice airplane. I don't know that it's really designed to uphold or to withstand the rigors of flight school life.
So
if you know what I mean.
Were your landings?
My landings were fantastic.
Okay.
I don't know what I could say about the guy before me. Anyway,
fair enough.
It's a neat airplane. It's turbo diesels, so they're actually diesel engines, so it burns Jet A, but in a piston engine. Incredibly simple to fly. Single lever operation. It's FADEC, so the computer does everything basically. To turn the engine on, you turn the switch on and you push a button. Actually, in this airplane, you turn the key. To turn the engine off, you literally just flip the switch off. That's it. So really, really simple airplane to fly. Fun to fly as well. Good performer.
Hey, AJ, I thought
Yes, sir.
we had an agreement that if you are going to show any pictures that you adjust them so we don't see any brands on like T-shirts you're wearing, especially
you're
for
supposed to fuzz
other
out your
podcasts.
T-shirt.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. We're going to have to talk.
Sorry.
Well spotted, Jeff.
Uh-huh.
Oh, now you're making it worse.
I'm not doing that. I think it must be AJ that's doing that. I have no control.
Anyways,
Fade to black.
So yeah, I did a pretty abbreviated multi-engine training course. I started off by getting a check ride date with a DP who's someone I know through someone else, so kind of 2 degrees of separation. But heard he's a really, really good DP. And so I got a date, and then I worked backwards and said, I can do this in 3 days. So my first actual multi-engine flight was on Monday.
Wow.
And flew once on Monday. Was supposed to have 2 flights on Tuesday, and the winds decided to turn into a little small hurricane type situation. So didn't fly again until 7 o'clock on Tuesday night. Got to the point where we actually taxied out first thing that morning, 7 o'clock in the morning. We taxied out, did our run up, and watched another airplane come in and just about become a smoking crater, trying to land. And we're like, maybe this isn't a good idea. We should not do this. So we went back. So then was getting a little bit panicked by the end of Tuesday because I only had one more day. I had Wednesday to fly, and then my check ride was on Thursday. And ended up getting a couple of good flights in on Wednesday and was feeling pretty good. Got down to the check ride. We started off doing the landings first. So there's a couple of different types of landings you have to do for the multi-engine check ride. It was exciting to do the landings before the takeoffs. It made it a little bit complicated, but it worked out. So you have to do a short field takeoff, short field landing. You have to do a single engine lap of the pattern. So basically about 400 feet off the ground, your DP will fail one of your engines. So basically it just pulls the power back. And you have to fly around the whole traffic pattern, single engine, and then land. And also have an aborted takeoff, which is kind of a non-event. Really, he looked over and said, "Oh, I see smoke coming out of that engine," and you just pull the power back and hit the brakes and come to a stop. So nothing super dramatic there. So after that, we took back off and went around to do some air work. And there's a couple of different maneuvers you have to do in the air, including some stalls, different configurations for stalls. Like your approach to landing or a takeoff power on stall, stuff like that. And when you have to demonstrate slow flight in the airplane, which is where you basically configure the aircraft for landing. So you put the landing gear down, put the flaps down and everything like that. And then you fly it at a very, very low airspeed to just show that you can control the aircraft at that lower airspeed. But an interesting thing happened when I set the airplane up for that landing configuration, in that the way this landing gear system shows you what's happening is you have 3 green lights when the landing gear is down and locked, one for each wheel. And you have a red light, which is gear unsafe, meaning it is somewhere in between fully up or fully down. So the first thing you do before you ever put the gear down on this airplane is you push the gear test fire test button, which tests the fire sensors in each of the engines and the gear alert, and it also lights up all the lights so you can see if any of the bulbs are burnt out and things like that. So we did that test, all the bulbs were working, put the switch down, put the gear down, and the gear sounded like it was operating normally, except for at the conclusion of this operation, the 2 main gear lights, so the land gear underneath the wings, those 2 lights were illuminated green, but the nose gear light was not. So we had 2 out of 3, which I guess they say 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
2 out of 3 ain't bad.
But it's keep in mind this is in the middle of my check ride, not at the end, but in the middle. So I still had other maneuvers left to do to complete the check ride. So we cycled it a couple times trying to get it to lock down, and couldn't get it to lock down. So we said, so the DP looks at me, he goes, "Well, we've completed all the landings." He goes, "All we have left to do is air work, so we can complete your check ride and just deal with this when we come to it." And I'm like, "Okay, we're here. Why not?" So we completed the rest of the air work, and of course I was a mediocre pilot by that point, because that's kind of in my head that I know I'm going to be facing that issue here in not too long. Ended up going down and doing a low approach over the airfield, and we were able to get in radio contact with the gentleman that was working in the FBO, kind of running the fuel and parking office and all that kind of stuff. And he came out and looked at our landing gear as we flew by, and he said, it looks like it's down to lock to me. And the instructor that had come down with me also came and was watching, and he came over the radio and said, "Oh, it's a switch." He goes, I had that problem with a few weeks ago when I was flying that airplane. I'm like, "Oh, thanks for letting me know."
Thanks for nothing.
Now you tell me.
So we decided, even though with all that information, we decided that we were going to make a precautionary landing, but we're going to go through all of the checklists anyway. So completed all of the emergency checklists regarding a failure to extend the landing gear, and landed very gently on the main gear, and just tried to gently put the nose gear down, fully prepared for it to collapse as soon as we got down, but wanted to get the airplane as slow as possible, obviously. And as soon as the nose gear touched the runway, the green light clicked on. So it was an electric switch, but it was pretty exciting. Exactly, got me.
It gave the opportunity to show your DPE, your expertise and your skills, and how you handle these
in a real emergency.
Yeah,
indeed.
So we had the joke that we were kind of, like I said, we're friends of friends. So I've met him before this day, and he looks over at me, gives me a fist bump, and he goes, "We're blood brothers now." Okay,
excellent.
So, managed to put a ridiculous timeline together and completed it. So now I am officially a multi-engine commercial instrument-rated pilot.
Excellent, good job. Brilliant.
Very nice.
And then I slept for 2 days.
That's a lot to do, sir, in a very short time. Well done.
And just for all of the folks listening out there who may be looking for a rated multi-engine commercial or commercial, whatever, however you say it properly, there's one right here. He's
got
ready
wings.
to fly your
I'm
airplanes.
willing to fly it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Anything else, Agent? Like there could be anything else? I mean, that was a lot.
Like I said, I slept for 2 days and I woke up and now I'm here. So
okay, great. Well, again, I'm sure the weight is lifted off your shoulders, and
it is a good feeling for sure.
Yeah, that's great. Glad you were able to join us today, Captain Nick. How about yourself?
I'm fine, thank you very much. Sort of, yeah. Everything's going tickety-boo. I haven't got much to say. I've had a busy week doing this week's Plain Tale, but I will just mention, if I may, something I talked about on the last show, and it was actually Andy Wilson's feedback that we played, and just because we don't play it again, but because it's such a good course, I thought I'd mention it. He's got a couple of hours in an A320 full flight simulator. This is the kind of flight simulator that airline pilots use to qualify on their aircraft, so it's really specky. There's one in the UK, I think Luton Way, and one out in, was it Madrid? Italy, that's right.
Yeah,
even
Northern
better
Italy, I think.
than Spain. Milan, except it began with an M, I knew that. So Milan, if you want to go and have a nice pizza and fly a flight sim. What he's doing, he's offering to have about 100 tickets. I think they're going to be about 30 quid each. And whoever wins it can take, I think, 2 or 3 people with them. Great fun. Andy is going to coach you through a 2-hour session in this simulator. It sounds absolutely brilliant. For any av geek, it would be, the experience of a lifetime. All the money raised will go towards the National Association for Mental Health. Nowadays, it's just called MIND, M-I-N-D. Anyway, we're going to put the links again in the show notes, hopefully, please. Because Andy's wife has already raised £58,000, and they're continuing to go to see how much they can get. So it's all in a good cause. Would be fantastic fun. If you paid 30 quid and won it, wow, that would be such good value. He can't provide anything other than the simulator. I think that's quite enough. So you have to get yourself to the sim and pay for hotels if you want to stay overnight, etc. But I thought it was a fantastic offer, and his airline has given him the simulated time. So thanks very much indeed to them. I don't know if we're allowed to mention them, but they're very orange. Anyway, and very easy to get tickets to fly with them. Yes, very easy.
Do they? What kind of airplanes do they fly? Propeller or jets? Yeah.
A320. Did I not say A320?
But it's a jet.
Is it a propeller or a jet?
I
Come
think
on.
they don't have a propeller.
Come on, you can do it.
Stay with
us.
Gonna get there.
Still, yeah. Sorry, I was looking at the duck when I was already moved on.
What duck are you? What are you talking about?
What the duck?
The show, the cover art.
Yeah.
Yeah, they fly jets. They're very easy
Easily.
and they fly jets.
I think we got that. I got it somewhere in the recording.
Moving on. Swiftly moving
Right,
on.
last week's cover art. Okay, we had some good suggestions. No knob twiddling during takeoff. I like that. Musical memories. Couldn't think of much to do with that. Fire and ice. All your engines in one basket. I could have done a couple of those, but the one I liked was ducking under the approach. Do you remember? So we had duck
We had
under.
a couple of duck unders that we talked about.
So there you go. There's your duck under. It
I see a
looks
duck
like
under.
there's a duck in the middle of the runway. The duck is ducking, and he needs to duck a long way because there's an airliner about to mow him down. So that was the art. Now, if you wanted the show number, look for a 6. That black spot on the end of his beak, if you look at it, it's got a pale surround, and that forms the number 6.
Mm-hmm.
The left nostril, or his right nostril, but the nostril on the left side of the photograph, has a 5 formed in sort of shadow around it. And the other nostril has been turned into an 8 with the addition of a faint circle over the top of the nostril. So that was not easy.
Is it
I'm gonna have to
just
take your
me?
word for that one.
Yeah, is it just me, or looking at this, that yellow outline, does it look like a dog and the 2 eyes and a black nose?
Yeah, it looks like Pluto.
Does. Yeah, it looks, yes.
Okay.
Oh,
I'm losing my mind.
Yeah,
There's a dog
no,
on that
you,
duck.
You're losing your mind. You
And
can
I,
find the logo if you've got good eyesight.
Wait,
It
which end of the
wasn't
duck is that?
Hard to see.
Hopefully
right
the
in the
front.
middle of his chest. So that's where you can find him proudly bearing the show logo. That was, that was
Very nice.
And let's have another good one for this week, because that was quite
dark
fun
in here.
doing that one.
Who turned out the lights?
All right. Well, very good. Oh, quick update from me. I'm extremely busy with this. This is like the most holy week of the year. That's why they call it Holy Week for Christians. And starting with Palm Sunday, last Sunday, lots of singing, and then had a couple of days reprieve. I did sing in a funeral early in the week on Monday, I believe, and then starting Thursday night, Monday, Thursday, some churches call it, we call it Holy Thursday, night before last. And then last night, actually most of the day yesterday, I spent at our church for various devotions and then, of course, the Good Friday service. And then I'm going back tonight for the biggest Mass of the year in the Catholic Church. It's the Easter Vigil Mass. And then, of course, probably 3 Masses tomorrow that I'll be singing. So, I'm trying. But
You'll be full
anyway,
of holes?
so very, very, very busy with the singing thing, and it's beautiful music, and anyway, really enjoying that. And then what else? Yeah, that's pretty much it for me. And coffee fund. Okay, let's find the button to press for that. Here we go. I found the button.
Johnny, how much more coffee? No thanks.
I love coffee. I love tea. I love the APG community. Coffee and tea and each other and me. A cup. Oh yeah. Coffee Fund, it's your way to support us financially if you want. You don't have to. Everything's free here. We do this mostly out of love for you. But we do appreciate it when y'all show some love for us by sending us some money. A couple different ways to do that. One is the Coffee Fund Classic method. And since our last episode, we have Norris Ogg, who sent us a nice contribution to the coffee. Captain Ogg? I don't know. Huh. I don't know. Don't know. And then Nick has gone at the moment, so he can't really reply. Anyway, thank you, Norris. And the other way to participate in the Coffee Bar Club is to become a patron of the show via patreon.com. No new patrons this week, but we got a great group of folks that are continuing patrons on Patreon. So if you want to learn more about the Coffee Bar Club, head over to airlinepilotguy.com/coffee. You'll be glad you did, and we will too. Oh, I should say, I don't think we're going to have time for a formal feedback segment today. We're going to go to the plain tale next, and then we're going to end the show. But I would like to say that Norris Og sent us some feedback as well. So it's just a quick piece of feedback from him. He says, "Greetings, Jeff. I love your podcast. I've been listening for years. I just wish to tell you that in APG 643, you implied," did I? I did, actually, that the faster aircraft go to the greater, the faster the aircraft goes, the greater the wake turbulence. I don't think that's accurate. And you're correct, sir. It's not accurate. The AOA, or angle of attack, on slower moving aircraft is generally greater, which I believe produces greater wingtip vortices that result in increased wake turbulence. You and Nick are seriously my heroes. Keep it coming, and thanks for letting me experience aviation through my ears. I will buy you and Nick a coffee soon. And he did, because we just talked about it in the coffee fund. So he says, "Thanks mucho." And we say, "Mucho gracias, Lee." I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I must have used his formal name in the coffee fund. I should have put Lee Og, Og Consulting. I'm not sure what kind of consulting Lee does over there at Og Consulting. But you're right. I did have a little minor brain fart and implied that airplanes going fast somehow produce more. I guess I was thinking about that incident with a Airbus A380 and a business jet. I'm not sure if it was a Gulfstream, or I don't remember what the model of the airplane was, somewhere out over the Indian Ocean that basically flipped the business jet and went out of control. And luckily they were able to regain control and over-G'd the air. I think that was the last flight of that particular biz jet after the encounter with the wake turbulence from the A380. And I think they only had like 1,000 feet of separation or something like that, and it went right below the 380. And so that was in my mind, thinking that going fast somehow made more wake turbulence. But you're right, I'm wrong. So sorry for that.
Oh, Captain Arger did a plain tale about him. He was the first guy to ditch an airplane successfully in the ocean and got all his passengers safe, but he killed like a bunch of cats and dogs that were pets in the hold and about 1,000 canaries or something, or were they budgerigars? But yes, Captain Og was the hero of his day because of his great water landing.
So Lee, if you are in some way related to Captain Og, let us know.
Yes, please.
And you could just tell us, make it up, and it would be very impressive.
I'll believe him.
Yeah.
Yeah, good job.
Way to go, Liz. Yeah, good catch. All right. Okay, we're going to go ahead and shift now to the old pilot's plain tale for this week, and the title of which is going to be announced by the old pilot himself. So I'm just going to push this button and give her a whirl.
The Old Pilot's Plain Tales, RAF Form 414, Volume 34. Those first few weeks with Virgin went by in a blur of activity. From never having even seen an A340 before, 6 weeks later I was part of a crew heading for an airport that I would learn to love and hate in equal proportions. New York's John F. Kennedy International. It was the start of my line training. Back then, I never questioned the terminology of my new profession. Growing up with a father flying in the industry, I was well used to the odd names given to things aeronautical. As a little kid, going with the old man to drop him off at Gatwick, he used to point stuff out to me, and driving round the airport, he told me that the lights we could see running up to the runway were called the lead-in lights. The next time I was lucky enough to go to the airport to see him off, I proudly displayed my newfound knowledge by shouting out, "Oh, look, Dad, the bleeding lights!" The term line in relation to the kind of flying I was now doing appears everywhere in our industry. Airline, flying the line bidding, the flight line and such. But its origins are obscured by the BR, the Bravo November mists, and the MIFG, shallow fogs of time. As with many aeronautical terms, it's likely that they were carried over from old naval language, and since most sailors were kept 3 sheets to the wind with their daily ration of a gallon of beer, later to become a half pint of rum, I'm not surprised. A line typically referred to a length of rope, but also a tactical formation of Navy ships when they sailed line astern or when drawn up in a line of battle. Warships that could employ such tactics were ships of the line, implying the grandeur and strength of the mighty vessels involved. It's likely then that the civilian shipping lines would adopt the same term so that they could bathe in the reflected glory of their naval counterparts. The largest and most successful companies operated regular schedules along defined routes, hence liners sailing along line routes. The advent of organized air travel that mimicked those voyages became airlines, and when lining up your aircraft on the apron, it became the flight line. Keeping track of an aircraft flying the line was originally done in lines on large chalkboards, so pilots and aircraft schedules became lines. Now that I was commencing my immersion into the vagaries of the line, I was as keen as mustard. The first couple of flights on my roster were designated as supernumerary, or in Star Trek terminology, I was a Klingon, tagging on to a training captain with a first officer further along in their training than I, so that I could get used to how things were done. It was fascinating to be the fly on the cockpit wall and see all the theory learned over the previous 6 weeks being put into practice. It also daunted me as I realized that learning how the A340 worked was only a part of the knowledge I needed, and a small part at that. There was so much more to being able to operate the aircraft on a real passenger-carrying flight across the Atlantic. One of the books that kept me occupied during the quiet periods of the flight was the Route and Airport Briefing book. This tome explained all the vagaries of our different routes, be they east, west, or south. We didn't tend to go north, as there wasn't much up there of interest. For today I was studying the Heathrow Airport chapter to glean information on clearance delivery procedures, ground control, and the different calls each airport had to request taxi clearance, as these usually varied from airport to airport, and, like angry toddlers, ground controllers often have short fuses. Expected taxi routes and times were dealt with, and how to switch to tower frequency automatically or wait to be instructed. There was a myriad of detail to be absorbed, and this just how to get to the runway at our home airport. For the operating crew, it was just another day, and they went through the procedures with barely a comment or quiet prompt, mixing the radio work in with the physical job of dealing with the see-off crew, checking all clear around the aircraft and starting to taxi. As we left the lemurs, the cul-de-sac where we often parked, I glanced up at the luxurious roof garden of the Virgin Atlantic lounge that overlooked the airport, and wondered if I'd ever get up there to see what it was like. With the terminals in between the runways, there wasn't anywhere too distant, so with the after start and before takeoff checklist complete, we waited for the senior cabin crew to wander in and let us know that the cabin was secure, turning over the little laminated reminder on the center console, something they did on the 747s. So much for technology. These were the little details that simulator training couldn't prepare you for, and just how the sausage was made was becoming evident. As we turned onto the runway, a dance began, or perhaps it was a duet. The crew both knew their parts perfectly, moves carefully choreographed, voices in tune and word perfect. And so the huge machine gently left the runway, the rumble of wheels silenced as the wings took the load and carried us clear. The gentle thumps of the gear retracting and the engine's roar settling into a comfortable purr as the power came back. I was mesmerized. The houses below had barely started shrinking before the cockpit door opened again and snacks and drinks arrived. The galley behind was already full of clattering dishes and chattering voices. After the non-stop activity on the ground, a feeling of calm had settled under the flight deck while we eased up to our cruising altitude. As Ireland appeared, the flight paperwork came out as the next hurdle approached, the transatlantic clearance. This was another verse of the song they had memorized, and a complicated quartet of voices began. One pilot spoke to Shamwick, the Oceanic Control Authority, this side of the pond, listening and then repeating a seemingly endless string of longitudes and latitudes, the same nautical coordinates used by mariners for centuries and stretching back to the ancient Greek astronomer Hipparchus. With one ear on his colleague to confirm the veracity of the toing and froing that was going on with the Irish controller, the other pilot continued to work London, seeking vectors to the oceanic entry point and the climb they would need to achieve their crossing altitude. After typing all the track coordinates into the McDo, both pilots checked them, even down to comparing the tracks and distances between each waypoint from a book of data. Finally, as they approached the start of the Atlantic crossing, the heading reference for the aircraft's compass was selected away from magnetic and onto true headings. The allocated Mach number was manually selected, and the altimeters cross-checked to ensure their accuracy. Then out came another checklist to confirm that the aircraft was indeed correctly configured to complete the crossing. My mind drifted to the pioneers of this flight, Alcock and Brown, the first to fly non-stop across this ocean 74 years earlier, back in 1919, 8 years before Lindbergh's solo crossing. All that remained was the last part of the ceremony, the transfer to the high-frequency long-range radio to check in with that controller and receive the concluding notes of the song started half an hour before, the notes that would activate the aircraft's cell call. With that finale, the radio's cell call alarm was activated. And the crew were able to mute the loud hash of noise ever present on the HF frequencies. I remembered as a young kid riding on the jump seat of my dad's VC-10 heading down to Nairobi, being startled by the very same system. Back when the cell call was introduced by ICAO, the International Civil Aviation Organization, in 1957, there were only 12 tones, allowing aircraft to use the letters A to M in their 4-letter codes. The year I joined Virgin, that was expanded to allow 16 tones, A to S, which the astute amongst you will realize should end with the 16th letter, P, except that I and O were excluded to prevent possible confusion with ones and zeros. Each of our aircraft was allocated its own cell call code when it joined Virgin, but even with the expanded options, only 10,920 possible codes could be created. Since there were considerably more aircraft than that in the world, code duplication was inevitable. But to prevent too many false alerts, Aviation Spectrum Resources Incorporated assigned duplicates to airlines operating in different regions of the world. As I write this, Cell Call 32 is now being rolled out, having been approved by ICAO a few years ago. Now fully established on the oceanic track system, the crew settled back and relaxed. With nothing to do, I was already completely relaxed and admiring my new workplace. My previous flying life had been sweaty, odorous, and fast-paced, but here I was in shirt sleeves, cooled by air conditioning, swigging coffee, and nibbling the snacks provided to keep us going until our three-course meals arrived. What's more, instead of a 90-minute trip out over the North Sea and back to my old RAF base, we were heading for a new city, somewhere I'd never been before. The menus came, and we each picked a different meal, so being the junior bod, I got the fish. The food, however, was great. Our aircraft trogged on, eating up the waypoints on the flight plan. The FO had actually drawn our route on a paper map and was taking a fix from the inertial reference platforms 10 minutes after each waypoint to confirm that we were still on track. This procedure was a hangover from older times, but still required. We had 3 laser ring gyro inertial platforms, the data from which was biased using complicated algorithms to ensure the aircraft's position was accurate, but I guess it didn't hurt to double check. And as we came in range of the Canadian VOR DMEs, the system updated without a flicker. At the Gander side of the pond, we were welcomed into the arms of their long-range radio relay stations, identified and sent off down the eastern seaboard, heading towards New York. As we passed over Boston, we stuffed our faces on finger-sized sandwiches with the crusts cut off, and a cream tea of scones, strawberry jam, and clotted cream. I licked my fingers clean whilst listening to the arrival briefing. There wasn't a spare approach plate to let me follow the procedure, but I gathered we were flying the Canarsie VOR to land on 13 left at JFK. I would learn that this approach wasn't universally liked, since it was based on a non-precision beacon about halfway down the arrival, and required us to fly an inbound course and make a small turn overhead the VOR onto a different course, then descend down to the missed approach point. There was no descent path guidance for this approach, and it was designed to be flown stepping down to each new altitude. That is, from assault 6 miles before the VOR, a descent from 3,000 feet to 1,500 feet to be leveled by the Canarsie beacon was required. Then a second descent was flown down to 800 feet by Dimmel, the missed approach point. Assuming you were visual at Dimmel, a 90-degree right-hand visual turn was then needed to line up with the runway whilst descending down to the threshold. This all sounded pretty out of the ordinary, and to be truthful, I wondered how it had happened that the biggest airliners in the world were required to fly this cockamamie approach. The crew flew the arrival beautifully, however, ignoring the steps and maintaining a steady 3-degree approach all the way down until the visual turn, where the descent had to be reduced to around 2 degrees. We flew past the nominated landmarks leading us to the runway, the Shore Parkway, the Aqueduct Raceway, and finally over the Hilton Hotel at less than 200 feet over its rooftops. Throughout, I had struggled with the rapid-fire radio comms,
in a no-nonsense New York accent and the unusual terminology, but when the guys called JFK ground, I gave up completely. I found it surprising that the ground controller didn't take us to the gate. In fact, we had to act as a kind of go-between between him and the ramp controller to discover if we could even enter the ramp area. How this convoluted system had evolved was beyond me. It certainly hadn't been designed to make life simple. We parked up. No automated visual docking system here, just a bloke standing on a tow truck with a pair of batons. As the captain wound the 4 engines down, there was no relaxing to talk about what we'd just done, a quick scribble in the tech log, and we were gathering our belongings whilst the last of the passengers got off. The upper class section was long since empty, since their ticket prices included a rapid exit, and the cleaners were already hard at work tidying up, when a senior girl popped a couple of beers into my flight bag. Not sure if that was okay, I shrugged and meekly followed the line of bright red uniforms through immigration, customs, and on to the crew transport. I sat with the flight deck at the front whilst the girls all ran for the back seats and got out their strangely coloured water bottles. Inside were all kinds of cocktail mixes, which were strong enough to knock your socks off. Sipping my beer, I thanked everyone for looking after me so well, and in return got a plastic glass full of a strange pink liquid. When I could speak again, and seeing Manhattan disappearing out of the rear windows, I wondered where we were bound. Not the giddy excitement of the Big Apple for us, but a Marriott with a missing R in the huge concrete car park of the Nassau Veterans Memorial Coliseum in Uniondale, a stadium I only saw open once in 20 years. We all swung straight past the reception desks, lined up at a table by the lifts for our keys, and each received a brown envelope full of cash. Wow, the life of a civilian pilot certainly had its perks, and our allowances were one of them. And I thought to myself, I could get used to this.
And he did. So the envelopes of cash, is that in lieu of, I mean, we received stipends or per diem, but it was all part of our paycheck and direct deposited and all. It was just a line item in our bi-monthly paychecks. Did they eventually shift to that, or did they continue with the cash system?
It was
Nick, or was that
cash in
something
hand.
entirely different?
Yeah, it was cash in hand for many years, Jeff, and most of the people preferred that. They went on to a credit card system where your credit card was charged with the same amount you would have received in your little brown envelope, depending on what the trip had been, because. Sometimes it was a bit hard to account if you were stuck for a few extra days because the inbound aircraft didn't arrive, it was broken or something. It was quite hard to get your cash out of the hotel for the extra days, and the credit card worked quite well. But on the other hand, it was always nice to get a pocket full of local currency. That was very convenient, quite honestly. But
that was what I was going to ask. Was just that so you didn't have to go to the currency exchange?
No, we didn't. No, but then again, by the time we went to a credit card, America had almost got used to credit cards, and it was quite easy to use them.
So, going back to an earlier part of this excellent plane tale again, as always. You were talking about cell call. I don't know if you mentioned what that stands for. Selective calling.
Yes, it does indeed. No, I didn't, and that's right. It was a way to. No one liked listening to HF all the time, but you had to if if your soul call didn't work, you were supposed to listen out to it. It used to drive people mad. That hash, by the way, which is the sound of the universe out there. That is it's galactic radio interference coming in.
It's a very noisy universe.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I got to hear a lot of it in my C-141B Starlifter days because guess what? The
really?
Air Force decided that it wasn't worth the money to spend to get selective calling systems on our jets.
No.
We had to
Does
listen
that
to that
explain,
HF.
Does that explain why it drove you mad or what?
What?
Drove you mad and deaf.
Yeah, no wonder I have tinnitus or tinnitus, your choice.
Yeah.
That's just one of the reasons. And the waypoint, when you mentioned the Canarsie, the VOR to 1-3 left, I'm thinking, I've flown that approach many, many times. And this is long before I flew an airplane that had RNAV. And when you were describing it very accurately, it's a very non-precision approach with step-down altitudes using a VOR. Inbound course is different from the outbound course, etc. And the waypoint you were talking about, DHMYL, I'm wondering, you pronounced it a certain way, but I'm wondering if, is it DeMille? Like Cecil B. DeMille? Is that, I've always wondered about.
We called it Dimmel because we, as a English-speaking nation, tend to put the emphasis on the first syllable.
Just like the South. Umbrella, display.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, Super Fred Driver in our live audience says, Jeff, you'll be happy to hear the Air Force finally sprang for cell call on Fred, which is a freaking ridiculous economic disaster. That's why they call it Fred, the
I love it.
C5 Galaxy.
We used to have it in the F-18 Hornet. And it didn't sound an alarm like it does on the Airbuses, a horn, kind of a funny little tone. Bitching Betty just came up and said, HF-COM, HF-COM.
Oh, that's much more pleasant than hear
that
sound from cell call. But trust me, as you mentioned, it's much better than having to listen to like for hours and hours at a time over the Atlantic or Pacific Ocean.
AJ, have you got it on your radios?
No, I don't have anything HF.
Oh, it's on VHF as well if you want it.
No, but I've never had cell call.
Yeah, but the big difference between VHF and HF, of course, is VHF has squelch. So that hash is still there, except you can set a threshold where you don't hear it. And the voice is always more powerful. On HF, the voice is at the same kind of amplitude, same level as the background signal. So you can't squelch out HF. So, as I'm sure you realize, but it's quite a different way of communicating, but and very frustrating because when you're over India, you can hear Pakistan controllers, all the Indian controllers, the Vietnamese controllers, everybody. There's about 150 airliners, all on the same frequency, and you can hear absolutely everybody. And everyone's shouting over each other. It's a damn nightmare.
It's so lovely, so much fun. So much fun.
Sounds like a fantastic system.
Yeah, one of the things I don't miss at all. All right. Well, thank you so much, Captain Nick. Another great episode from your logbook. I'm looking forward to many, many more in the future. But that brought back a lot of memories for me, for sure. All right. We're going to go ahead and wrap this baby up. No feedback today. We'll, push it on to the next episode. Liz is happy about that. We have feedback, an abundance.
Yeah, all those feedbackers, you don't have to write in this week. You can just put your pens down.
No. Liz is saying, no, yeah, you do. You still have to. Zip it.
No, we don't want any feedback this week.
Well, while we all consider that, let's point you over to the airlinepilotguy.com website where you'll find information about the crew and the community and so much more. Just check it out, airlinepilotguy.com. And we're also on the social media. Captain Nick.
Oh, I'm the social media expert this week. Okay, if you're a Facebook freak, look for Airline Pilot Guy, all one word. And if you've X'd out on X, at APG Crew is our handle. Now, if you want to see the artwork, which is just about all we put on Instagram, although Steph is very active on Instagram, again, it's APG Crew, all one word. And if you fancy seeing the sausage being squeezed out, then go to youtube.com/Airline Pilot Guy.
Such a terrible visual.
Yes. Yeah. That was a good plug for the video. Thank you, Captain Nick.
Why don't we keep letting him do that?
I don't know. I never learned. I never learned my lesson. All right, and we also have, of course, in my APG headquarters bathrooms, the second bathroom. Hello. Hello. Slack.
Okay, but I'm dripping wet.
That's okay. We know. You're always dripping wet because you're always so excited to see us. Here we go. He's going to tell us about Slack.
APG listeners, please join us on our Slack team. Slack is a communication, coordination, and sharing platform that works on your mobile, laptop, or browser. On Slack, we share news and ideas. We suggest episode and plain tales topics. We plan events and meetups. To get into the Slack team, please email me at slack@airlinepilotguy.com. That's SLACK, Sierra Lima Alpha Charlie Kilo @airlinepilotguy.com. Or send me a tweet with your preferred email address to @Hillel, and I'll send you an invitation. That's Hillel, spelled Hotel India 11 Echo 1, and see you in Slack.
Thanks a lot, Hillel.
Jeff,
what?
I don't understand it. How can we be out of conditioner again?
I use a lot of conditioner. Sorry.
That's why your hair
keep
looks
from getting
so
all pruny.
under control.
Yeah. Thank you. It's a condition of my dedication to the Airline Pilot Guy show. Anyway, I had no idea what I was saying until each word was coming out of my mouth. It was just making it up.
You were as surprised as we were.
Hey, I'd also like to thank, or we'd also like to thank, our lovely producer, Liz, who does so much work behind the scenes and during the show.
You're looking very smart, Liz.
Oh, thank you, Nick.
And very thumbs-uppy.
Yes.
Yeah, look at that. Oh, no. Now what are we
didn't
going to
happen.
get? Oh, it didn't happen. Oh,
Didn't happen.
You broke it.
Yeah. Anyway, so thanks so much for everything you do. She is my assistant, my confidant, and best friend. So thank you, Liz.
Oh, thanks,
And
Jeff.
we'd also like to thank our live audience. And I'd also like to shout out to Micah, who I believe I'm gathering that he's still in the hospital.
He's going home today. He's going
home today.
His brother is on his way up to Portland and taking him home.
Wow. Talking about dedication. He's listening to our show while he's in the hospital.
He needed a
Thank you,
nap,
Micah.
Nick. He needed a nap, Jeff.
Oh, he needed a nap.
I can see AJ's pussy.
Oh, well. Okay, more editing.
Okay, let's wrap this up, please.
Yeah, let's wrap this thing up. So thank you, everyone, for listening and telling your friends and all that kind of stuff. So with that, we're going to go ahead and say happy Easter weekend, and what other religious ceremonies or celebrations you
Observances.
might have. Observances, thank you, in your life. And we'd like
I'm
to
going
wish you
up the hill to dance around a fire with the witches.
Oh, cool.
Naked?
Yeah, naked.
Ooh,
Yeah.
we'll have video next episode to show you.
No, please,
getting to know us
no.
segment. All right, so with that, we better just say, wishing you all clear skies, unlimited visibility, and tailwinds. Take care. God bless.
Bye, everybody.
See ya.
Anybody else?
See you next time, everybody.
Well, he's trying to
That was
understand
about the
the
worst
seniority
we've had
system
for
here.
100 episodes.
So
I was
Liz
trying
always
to
waits
go
till the end.
I always go last, so
Yeah.
I'm always last. So
That's all right.
thanks,
I can fix it in
Ludger.
post.
I
Happy
was
Easter,
told that I was
Ludger.
last because I'm the lowest on the totem pole.
Nah.
I know it's confusing. I know.
No, you're
AJ, sorry.
an on-air personality. You always go ahead of the producer.
Oh, you're a talent now. Yeah.
All right, so
First time anybody
titles.
said that about me.
Titles here. I really didn't. I apologize, Nick. We're gonna go with what I got, but they're not great. Okay, so we talked about a gun with a license, like the actual gun having a license. So I don't know if you can do anything about that one. Do you know what I mean?
Yep, I do know
Okay.
what you mean now.
Okay. Then we talked about the bonanza. So open door policy. We can have an open door policy.
Open door.
Or a closed door policy maybe is better. I don't know. Then we have pilot vibe. AJ was showing us his daughter, and she had the pilot vibe. So, what does a pilot vibe look like? It's a pilot vibe. I don't know.
Just think pilot.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of that, make sure you send us those pics, AJ, so I can put it in the show notes.
Right, and I've got some stuff from Camacho too. Anyway, this is from the Plain Tale, but I kind of liked it because today actually was the start of the American Revolution. You were not the Boston Tea Party, but you were having tea over Boston.
Yes.
Over Boston, like so the over Boston Tea Party or something. I don't know. Don't know if you could do something with that.
Interesting.
Then I had home to the chickens. That was that Delta pilot was going home to his chickens. And then something about AJ steaks being well done, but they weren't well done, but they were well done, if you know what I mean, kind of thing.
Well done, but not well done.
Yeah. That's all I got.
Anyone else?
Yeah.
Is that all?
I don't blame you.
Yes.
I don't blame you.
Hey, goodbye to everybody that's leaving us in the chat room. Great to see you. Thanks so much
Yeah.
for being with us.
Thanks so
today.
much.
Yeah,
Great to
hang on a minute. Before the chat room go, any suggestions? Come on, chat room.
Yeah,
I'll give
earn
you
your
10
keep
seconds.
out there.
Yeah, you.
Don't put all the
very-
pressure on me.
Yeah, that's right. Come on.
Yeah. Come on.
You thought this
It's
was free? No.
It's usually Micah that comes up with them, but I think he's gone off now to get ready to
They're
go
like
home. so-
they're as useless as chocolate teapots. that
Well,
was
they're
like.
all
Yeah.
they're all got their mute buttons on now because they don't have anything. So
Yeah, okay.
Let me add that
All
to the
right.
list of sayings that you never hear in the United States. As useless as a chocolate teapot.
because it melts when you put the tea in it.
Oh, I understand.
Oh.
I get it.
What if you're having
I've
an
never
iced
Don't
tea?
say it very often. Okay.
I mean, have you,
Maybe
have you ever
it-
heard that at all, AJ?
I've
In the-
never
saying?
heard useless
In the
as a
States,
chocolate
it would be
teapot.
as useless as a chocolate coffee cup or coffee mug.
Yeah. I mean, I get,
think that'd be
get the
delicious.
concept, but just it's not something you normally hear here in the
There you
colonies.
go. I'm glad we're all a bit different. You know, it
Right.
makes
Yeah, me
life
too.
more
You could-
interesting.
You could have
too.
iced tea.
Good.
Yeah,
enough.
iced tea wouldn't melt the coffee.
See?
No,
You
it
just
wouldn't.
do
All
it.
right,
Teapot.
let's wrap this thing
Teapot.
up. Bye,
Very
everybody.
true.
See, we're getting
Okay,
nothing
we're
from
not
that.
getting any suggestions from
No.
anybody there. So
Bye.
Bye.
see you,
Cheers,
Forrest.
then.
See you, Greg.
Cheers,
see you,
Forrest.
everybody.